I wanted to begin with the topic of, don't groan, methods and methodologies. Method is a way of doing something with a prescribed outcome. Following a tried and true method works every time. And I've used zombies as an analogy. That zombies are all method, with a singular objective: eat brain. There's no discussion from the zombie perspective, what are the ethics of eating brain? But if there were zombie academics, they might propose and begin a discourse in which no brain would be eaten except in the discussion. Figurative, not literal. But we can also describe Henry Ford's innovation in the manufacturing of automobiles as a method, capitalist production method. So the workers have their job on their line. The objective is to make cars. There's no discussion because it's assumed that the car equals progress equals good. End of story. The workers may feel like zombies on the line, but they go home. That's their time. Methodology, on the other hand, is an attitude towards information and data, a thinking through. Living, building, thinking was my assignment, not then titled. And it, as Carol said, to address the Expressionist collection here, which is, many agree, is the most comprehensive one in Canada. It began in 1961, 55 years ago, but there was no objective for comprehensiveness at the time, and indeed there wasn't a gallery space to show works of art. There was a kind of provisional anteroom to the slide library in the original Mills Library. So the beginning was a convergence of like-minded people who had interest from different areas of the university. But within 15 years, it had gained enough critical mass for the National Gallery of Canada to tour an exhibition across Canada from this collection, which was organized by the director-curator of the Art Gallery of York University, Michael Greenwood. In approaching this assignment, I had to consider what had come into the collection in the last almost 40 years, and working through methodologies was necessary. In art history, master and method is spoken of when discussing Renaissance in Western art. How an artist, as an apprentice, learns the how of making things rather than the what. Subject matter is half of the what. The other half is the interpretation, but it's never for artists to determine, although artists think, do, and activate then and now. Art history, this is where I'm going to get into deep water, to me is a methodology. Okay? It's an ideal one for an art historian or theorist because there is no custodial responsibility. Right? It's all thought. One thing follows another on a page to argue for, no matter how complex that arguing for may be. The curator of an exhibition may use art history as a guide for a theme. Themes are an exhibition method. But a Lowndes exhibition, for example, you're borrowing things, are dependent on what is available and can be compromised. That is, idealized but not fully realized. And likewise, if it's drawn from a collection, a compromise as well, as no collection holds a full body, a full example of every nook and nuance. So another methodology kicks in, and that's to sidestep either to or to substitute. This stands in for this. So I went through the Museum of Modern Art, 2011 publication, German Expressionism, The Graphic Impulse, 832 pages. Now, I could use that as a method guide, and 50% of this exhibition could have been drawn from that. But I had to pose a better question for myself, and that is, what do I know about Expressionism and thinking through it? So rather than rating the MoMA as a ready-made, I decided to pry open Expressionism. Because if it was German alone, it would begin in 1905 and end in 1937. 1905, Die Brücke, examples are upstairs. 1937, degenerate art, entartete Kunst. The Nazis remove all of this. That's a historical fact. So this could also include the acknowledged precursors, those who influenced, and then land on what is generally agreed on as neo-expressionism in the 1970s or 80s. And the smarty pants historian might argue it actually ends in 1919 because the original impulse for the early expressionist movement ends there. But that's not the case. And in talking to artists over the years, I know that that period also feeds their thoughts and their imaginations. And some direct examples are included here. For example, I'm standing in front of Joyce Cairns, Scottish artist. This is 1986, 60 years before Max Beckmann. If you look at the two, you will see what Joyce has drawn from Beckmann. However, Joyce doesn't consider herself to be an expressionist artist, and neither did Beckmann. But in this prying open, they can come together, and there's a reason for it. Okay. The other methodology, and that's the exhibition as a spatial experience. So, walk into this space, it's not a book on a wall, page after page. It is vistas, called an arrangement. Sometimes this is degraded down to so-called exhibition design. However, I think it can also be a modeling. And this may be, in one way, a curatorial model. That is, take a picture, snap a picture, post it. I've self-modeled. Hopefully it's not that, because the job is to step aside from all of this and let the work do its work. My reading, I start with reading. I had 2 stacks of books, one here, one here. What had been considered, analyzed, and then I continued with prime documents. That is what artists had said, had written, but the work of art is also a prime document. What I came to was not a field of historical examination bordered by, some kind of fence of time, type, and style, but something akin to standing at the edge of an ocean or a desert. And they're the same in many respects, vast, unknowable, and fraught with danger. Both are eternally the same and ever-changing. But we fear the unknown. Natural forces, wind can pick up the sand of the desert, the sandstorm, I've lived through sandstorms, and the ocean can become crueler. We can think of both of them as a challenge to pass over to arrive at a destination, but the journey itself can be revealing if you're prepared to take the risk. Sand, water. And some of us have seen Castaway. Looks like paradise, something stops you. And I want to go over there. It's the vast and unknowable ocean. I said, he could die. I'm going to take this risk. So there's no conclusion here, but there is a beginning and an end, as there must be in 100 works on the 2 levels, from possibly 500 to choose from. Or let's say, alternative beginnings and alternative ends in thinking through, hence the title, Living, Building, Thinking.